the meeting. If necessary, comments are limited to 3 minutes each, and the mayor may limit this time if reasonable under the circumstances. The city council may not discuss or take action on issues not on the meeting agenda, except that members of the city council or staff may briefly respond to statements made or questions posed by the persons exercising. But in short,
Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Hampton.
Yeah, I just wanted, and as we were talking about ceremonial matters, I just wanted to also give applause and big thanks to our police department who successfully talked someone down from jumping from the Colorado Street Bridge today. I think that is extremely important and something that we should recognize, that the value of life is important to us as well.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to bring that up. So thank you, Mayor, for giving me the time.
Thank you. As the clerk pulls up his policy, I'm going to turn to Councilmember Williams to give us a brief report on her representation of the city.
Thank you.
National League of Cities.
Yes, so thank you, Mayor and Council. I attended the League of California Cities conference with City Attorney Michelle Bonarise 2 weeks ago. It was about 1,800 people in Sacramento Convention Center, which was pretty interesting, and they managed it very well. But the league is really, they do education, but their big effort is advocacy for the cities. So there were 3 resolutions that we voted on. One was to expand the diversity and inclusion of their board through a bylaw amendment. The second one was asking the legislature to reallocate sales tax generated from deliveries to the county pool as opposed to the location where the warehouse is. And that would be a pretty big jump in our sales tax revenues. So that one was referred back to committee. Unfortunately, that was probably the strongest resolutions they had. And then the third one was for railroad maintenance funds, which affects a lot of cities that have the national railroads in them. So so that's my report from the league conference, and I'm happy to share anything else or answer any questions. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. And thank you for the report. Consistent with our rules, anytime a member of the council travels on behalf of the city, we have a report out.
And to continue on, just prior to calling the first speaker, members of the public shall direct comments to the body as a whole and not to staff, individual members of the body, or the public. No person shall be permitted to interrupt members of the body, staff presentations, or members of the public who are at the microphone during a meeting. Any person making personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks about members of the body, staff, or the public, or who shall become boisterous or threatening or personally abusive of the body, staff, or members of the public shall be asked by the mayor to cease and desist such activity and may be requested or required to leave the meeting in the event that behavior continues to disrupt the meeting proceedings. And with that, we will call the first speakers. Saran Hajan, followed by Sam Bills, followed by Aaron Semin Walsh.
Ms. Hajan, welcome.
Saran, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. Good evening. This is Saran Hajan. I officially filed a candidate intention statement with the city for election to city council representing District 7. I was born in District 7, where my husband and I raised our children. My education and professional experience have been focused on solving the housing, sustainability, and transportation complexities relating to cities. I have a bachelor's degree from UCLA, a master's degree in urban planning from Cal Poly Pomona, and an MBA in finance from USC. I also have an executive certificate in public management from the JFK School of Government at Harvard University. As a professional, I have worked with community leaders to formulate broad, long-range policy documents to protect neighborhood quality of life, conserve historical buildings, and craft development policies using community goals. Over the past 20 years, I have served as a City of Pasadena Planning Commissioner and a City of Pasadena Recreation and Parks Commissioner. I chaired both the Pasadena Board of Zoning Appeals and the City Pasadena Library Commission. I also served on the board of directors of the Pasadena Senior Center and Planned Parenthood Pasadena. I have been a PUSD parent for 16 years, serving on a school site council. As a council member, I will focus on protecting and improving the quality of life in Pasadena's District 7. I take the idea of representative democracy seriously. I'm running to effectively represent the wishes of District 7 residents. I look forward to speaking with each of you in the weeks and months ahead. Have a great meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Hodgin. Next speaker.
Sam Bills, followed by Aaron Semin Walsh, followed by Jane Ward.
Mayor, before the next speaker, it may be worth my mentioning, I did share publicly last week that I don't intend to run for re-election, so I suspect we may hear from other candidates who are interested in the seat.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Wilson.
Sam Bills, are you there?
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Thanks. My name is Sam Bills. I've lived here in Pasadena for 18 years, and I'm a part of Pasadena Mennonite Church. And I wanted to speak to you tonight to both urge you to take action and to press for urgency around this issue of affordable housing. And one of the reasons I'm speaking out is that my family has benefited from leadership and work on affordable housing done here in Pasadena in the past. I know we're capable of it. Our family, and we have 4 kids that were born here in Pasadena, were able to make an affordable townhouse purchase through the Fair Oaks Court development that the Heritage Housing here in Pasadena undertook with the city. So I know in a personal way the difference it makes when the city is working to solve these issues in a creative way. But I also know that there are many in our community who still need access to affordable housing. And I am saddened to hear, on a weekly basis that individuals and families in our community are giving up and moving away because they can't afford to live here. And I know too many families that have been forced out, families from school and church who, are part of our community, part of the fabric of our community. And the kind of diversity that we celebrate and is that, such an asset in Pasadena is really under threat as a result of the housing crisis that we're in. And this current crisis has just exacerbated that. So waiting to take action is not an option. So I'm advocating tonight for action on one practical solution. Our church would like to build affordable housing, but we don't own land. We rent space. So we're supporting other churches, and there are a number that are ready to go right now who want to build housing and make it affordable on the property that they own. Affordable housing developments need 40 to 50 units to pencil out. That's the economics of it. And most church land in Pasadena is not zoned to accommodate that density, so we need rezoning. And it needs to be by right, or else nonprofit affordable housing developers won't have the confidence to invest the time and money in pre-development because the project might be denied. Without by right zoning, few if any projects will be completed, and I'm concerned about the historic use of discretionary zoning to preserve racist and classist systems. From what I'm aware of, there's already a state bill moving ahead to rezone religious land statewide that will be a by right bill. So if Pasadena wants an exception for its own ordinance and to have a chance to take action in a distinctive way, it needs to be by right.
30
So I know
seconds.
because I've been joining some, thank you. I know because I've been joining some other recent meetings that you plan to take this issue up with the housing element next month. That's great and that's helpful, but I'm still going to press you to not delay on that issue and to give it the urgency it deserves. And when it comes to you, to be sure to make it a by right zoning so that these projects can move ahead. So I thank you for your commitment to housing justice and for your work for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Aaron Semin Walsh, followed by Jane Ward, followed by Claire Phillips, though we cannot locate her in the meeting. If not, it'll go to Jasmine Richards Abdullah. Aaron?
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you for giving me time. I lead an independent school here, and our classes often interact with the community. About 20% of my students live in Pasadena. The city's decisions about public safety and public funds have an impact on many students and families that I care about. I want to bring voice from the community today regarding the council's decisions that affect public safety. Public safety has to include the public. It has to be informed by the public, and it has to be governed with the voices of the public at its heart. I urge the council to vote no on spot shatter technology. I also urge you to begin to move forward with steps to bring the officers of the Pasadena Police Department who are responsible for the murder of Anthony McLean to justice. It's been more than a year. It's been said in more than one forum by more than one official of the city that you don't really feel the push from the public on this issue of Mr. McLean's death, that it just doesn't seem important to people. I'm here to say that that is wrong. We do care. Our families care, our children care, my students care. Citizens across city boundaries, across political groupings, across racial and cultural lines all care. We want to see justice for Anthony McLean and his family. We want to see you act with no more delays. We care because the life of a man was taken for no good reason when he was shot in the back by the police. Because a year later, no one is being held accountable. We care because egregious violence and inequitable treatment of Black and Brown citizens is allowed to continue happening here in our city. We care because decisions of funding and time and council attention are given on each agenda to public safety matters, like buying anti-terrorism barriers or investing in tech, when we know in our hearts that these things will not make our neighbors or our friends safer.
1 minute.
I ask that your decisions going forward are focused on public and safety. These things, when they come up on the agenda, they aren't disconnected from the lives of the citizens. I ask that you focus on public and safety and not some skewed perspective that only promotes policing, which harms our neighbors and makes them less safe. Last week, questions were raised about the ticking clock regarding the city action on the McLean investigation. I ask for an update on what was discovered there and to hear a plan from this body about how city action will help restore a sense of both justice and safety to everyone in the city. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. And I would invite you to attend the Special Public Safety Committee at the request of Councilmember Hampton. We'll be having a Special Public Safety Committee meeting on October 13th to talk about policies and procedures involving the police department. Next speaker.
Jane Ward, followed by Claire Phillips, who still has not checked in, followed by Jasmine Richards Abdullah, followed by Adriana Batista. Ms. Ward?
Yes, hello, City Council members. I'm here representing Showing Up for Racial Justice. First, I wanted to share how happy I am that Governor Newsom signed this week into law a package of police accountability legislation after years of tireless work by organizers for racial justice in California. Much of this legislation is especially necessary to force some accountability in the city of Pasadena, where police have abused Black people and stolen Black lives with impunity. Today, I'm here to ask that the city council members, or ask if the city council members plan to make use of SB 2, which gives the city the power to take appropriate action against officers like Edwin Dimagwindon when they use excessive force, like shooting someone in the back who's running for their life. I would also love to hear whether the city plans to make use of Assembly Bill 26, which requires the officers to intervene when other officers are using excessive force, like the officers who pinned Anthony McLean to the ground when he'd already been shot in the back twice, causing him to bleed out and die. And then there's the legislation introduced by our own State Senator Portantino precisely because of the murder of Anthony McLean. This is SB 715. This law requires state prosecutors to investigate police shootings that result in a civilian's death if there's a reasonable dispute as to whether the civilian was armed. Portantino, like the rest of us, watched the footage of Anthony's murder, which Steve Mermel has inexplicably removed from the city's website at this point. And Portantino saw no gun, just as the rest of us saw no gun. The only people who saw a gun in that video were the police themselves, who circled various objects, a belt buckle, a phone, and called them a gun in their edited video.
50 seconds.
Last week, the community also asked about the statute of limitations on disciplinary action against Pasadena police deputies, and we were told that no one present at the meeting knew the answer to that question and that it would be looked into. And so I also, like the previous speaker, look forward to hearing the answer this week. Thank you.
Thank you. Claire Phillips still not in the meeting, so we'll move on to Jasmine Richards Abdullah, followed by Adriana Batista, followed by Michael Williams.
Okay, I just want to start off by saying, one, you guys to agendize the firing and decertifying of Edwin DeMcGuindon and Officer Maroney. Officer Maroney is officer number 1, and Edwin DeMcGuindon is officer number 2. Last week, Michelle Bonareese lied to City Council when she stated all of the footage was online and released for the people to see. All of the footage is not online. We put in a public record request, so we got all of the information and all of the videos. The building surveillance video is in an 8-second time lapse that covers 15 minutes of the time. 15 minutes of the whole time. We don't know what's going on in it. The other video, officer number 1 body cam, which is Officer Maroney. Audio is removed throughout the second half of the video. So we can't hear anything that he's saying. Officer number 2, which is going to be Edwin DeMcGuindon's body cam footage, only shows footage after Anthony is on the ground begging for help. Audio is removed. We are demanding that Edwin DeMcGuindon's full body cam footage be released, as well as full audio be released from when the stop initiated. We want the full body cam footage from when the stop was initiated from officer number 2, Edwin DeMcGuindon. I just want to ask you guys, what are you hiding? In all of the footage given to us from the public record request, there is no gun found in any of them, in all of the videos, and I went through them thoroughly. And I'm going to go through them again just to see if I missed something. I know I didn't. In the footage, officer number 1, which is Maroney, he called out gun when after Officer Edwin DeMcGuindon was shooting. I never heard DeMcGuindon yell gun. So I just want you guys to know, and I implore the city council to put in your own public record request or just look into the files yourself. I can even email them to you and let you, so you can see for yourself that there's a time lapse, that there's footage that's being hidden, and there's audio that's being hidden. I also want to say that I went to court today from the charges that are being pressed against me by the city prosecutor's office, by Michelle Bonareese.
45 seconds.
The judge stated that there is bias and discriminatory prosecution towards me because of the political work that I do in Black Lives Matter. We filed a Regium motion with showing that there's discriminatory and biased prosecution towards me. So I'm imploring you guys to drop the charges against me, because once this court case is over, I will be suing you guys. We want you guys to agendize the firing and decertifying of Edwin DeMcGuindon and Ryan Maroney, excuse me. And I just want to keep echoing that, because I will not stop with these demands until you guys do something about them. And I also implore again, I'm going to reiterate, City Council, do your own due diligence and look through all 5 of those videos, because in all 5 of those
Your
videos,
time has expired.
Gun, and you also see people audio gone. Thank you.
Adriana Batista, followed by Michael Williams.
Drop the charges against Jamon McClain, Reggie Beasley, Nafisa Kaba, and Jasmine Richards Abdullah, who have all been targeted by PPD and the city prosecutor's office for vocalizing disapproval of PPD's murder of Anthony McClain. Hire a new city prosecutor who refuses to violate the rights of Pasadena residents. Keep the city manager's office replacement open and transparent. Select a city manager who will work for the best interest of the people of Pasadena, all the people of Pasadena, not just one neighborhood, one tax bracket. Fire Officer DeMcGuindon. He broke policy and invited chaos to ensue when he opened the passenger door and made Anthony exit the vehicle. He did not have his partner's back, and his partner was not able to have his back either. Duma Gwendon unnecessarily opened fire on Anthony and left his partner stranded. Fire Duma Gwendon and place him on the National Decertification Index. As per SB2, he engaged in serious misconduct that should result in his certification being revoked in California. I yield the rest of my time.
Michael Williams, followed by Yoel Carter Martinez.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
I am calling again, as always, to ask that you give justice to the McLean family. They earn that justice. They need that justice. And we as a community are not going to stop calling. We're not going to stop organizing until you give that family the justice that they deserve. Steve Ramel is leaving. And as happy as we are about him leaving, he has one more job to do before he goes. To fire those officers that killed Anthony McLean. That is his duty as someone who's supposed to be a caretaker of this city. Anthony McLean was a citizen. Anthony McLean was someone who was a community member. His death does not deserve to be swept under the rug and treated like it doesn't matter. I also want to say I'm in agreement with the churches, with the zoning policy, for the housing. This is the stuff that y'all should just be rubber stamping. Instead of doing all this stuff for police, giving them new tactical gear, giving them something that has been proven, an algorithm and a system that has already been proven by numerous scholars, numerous studies to be faulty. Instead of doing that, your main priority should be getting the justice for Anthony McLean and helping those who are houseless, helping those who need the housing here in Pasadena. That should be your goal, not rubber stamping everything the police slide by you. It is time for y'all to do the right thing, and we're going to hold you to it. We're going to make sure you do the right thing. We're not going anywhere.
1 minute.
We're not leaving. We're not going to stop with the calls. We're not going to stop organizing around this. We're not. You need to do what is right. All of you have taken a duty to uphold justice and to help the city of Pasadena, all its citizens. Anthony McLean's life matters. Not just some accident or mishap that you can just chalk up. His life matters, and there needs to be some accountability. There's been years of this, and we're tired. And Anthony McLean is just the start because we want justice for all the other people that you have murdered. Fire the officers that were responsible for the death of Anthony McLean and do it as soon as possible.
Your time has expired. Yoel Carter Martinez. There's 2.5 minutes left in the 20-minute period, so this Ms. Martinez will
I'll be
probably
brief.
Go ahead.
Dear Mayor and Council members, my name is Joel Carter Martinez. I'm a member of Surge Altadena. I am also a teacher. As a teacher, if I were to harm one of my students, I would resign there and then. But let's say I didn't. I would expect to be immediately removed from the classroom. I would expect an investigation, and I would expect to be fired and to not be allowed to work as a teacher again. Even if I could prove that the harm I inflicted was unintentional, I would expect to be fired. Because, you see, my job is all about the trust that the parents of my students bestow upon me. And if that is broken, there is no point on me being there. Let's say that instead of firing me, my supervisor covers my deed and starts blaming the child I hurt. How do you think the parents would react? Do you think they would trust the school I work for? No. More than a year has passed since a Pasadena police officer shot Anthony McLean on the back. More than a year, and we are still waiting for accountability. More than a year since we saw Police Chief Perez bending the facts to fit into his own narrative. And now I ask you, how can we trust the Pasadena Police Department and the people who are supposed to be overseeing them? Last week, I mentioned a statute of limitations of 2 years to bring police to justice. The council members said they would look into it. Could you please share what are your findings on this issue? Thank you. I yield my time.
That completes the initial 20 minutes for public comment. The following speakers have names and their cards in the queue. Carolyn Galoni, Bert Newton, Alan Shea, Hiram J. Cormier Jr., Chris Peck, Cheryl Arger, Lucy Nordin, Heavenly Hughes, Victor Hodson, Kave, Sarah, Evie, Kimberly Bautista, Julie Diaz Martinez. We will call those names at the end of the meeting when we've completed the rest of the council's regular business.